Let me go ahead and make my setup here so that everything will be fine. And as you can see later on, there is the chance to get some questions going. I'm going to guide you through that webinar today. My name is Thomas Ahrens. I'm the Chief Process Officer here at Intland, and I will guide you through this webinar in regards to medical device compliance with IEC 62304 and ISO 14971. Let me just check that you have everything and can see everything. You should be fine right now. If there is something, please go ahead and ask me a question or just interrupt. So what is the agenda of today's webinar? I'm going to guide you through some basics of ISO 62304, some basics of the ISO 14971. So for those who are familiar with those both norms, it will be very easy. Then I'm just going to guide you through some example requirements processes of requirements and an example of a change request process. I'm going to show you the logical data model of ISO 62304 in conjunction with ISO 14971. We go to some practical part. I'm going to show you some basics of what we have realized in the CodeBeamer template. And then on your demand, where I hope I get a lot from you, I'm going to show you how things can be realized. So going here, short introduction to Intland. Company was founded in 1998. We are located in Stuttgart, Germany with our headquarters. We are named in market-leading ALM tool. We have large partners like Lufthansa Industry Solutions and several other ones. We have offices in Silicon Valley in the US and resellers in other locations. Our customers go over in the medical area what would be the most interesting for you, as you can see in the top. And then we have as well customers in automotive, aviation, defense, high-tech and embedded, and others. And there is, especially regulated areas where CodeBeamer is coming as the tool or the choice for handling development. So I'm directly going into the scope of the ISO IEC 62304 and just point out some major things that are stated there. So the standard of this norm provides you a framework of a lifecycle model of process, activities, and tasks necessary for the safe design and maintenance of medical software. As you can see, I pointed out some things in red. It's necessary for the safe design and for maintenance because these are some major issues. And the standard provides requirements for each lifecycle process. And these processes are divided into activities and then are further divided into tasks. And this is what you have to execute in order to later on show compliance to the FDA or the respective authority. So let's go to the target of the ISO IEC, and I pointed out some things here as well. The main target is that the manufacturer of the medical device software shall demonstrate the ability to write medical device software that, and this is the important one, consistently meets customer requirements and the applicable regulatory requirements, which can be quite a huge amount. So we go to the risk management for medical devices. This is the ISO 14971 and the ISO 6061-1 in regards to the alarming messages and so forth. So I summarized here what is the main thing. So the basics of any development are there. That's the typical V-model approach. Plus, and that's the important one here, risk management, not only on the device, but as well on some other areas, plus essential performance, plus safety lifetime management. These are things often omitted, especially if things are growing up and you're not that familiar in the market yet. So going to the next area, there is a special where I'm pointing out here right now. This is the medical spice, the VDI 5702, because there is something always referred to that is called what is a major process. So I'm pointing out here some specific parts of the medical spice. So the process scope and interfaces have to be identified. So out of the 62304, those processes have to be defined, interfaces there. What is the incoming work product? What is the outgoing product? At what time? By what person? Then the development lifecycle is divided into phases and tasks. I'm going to show you that later on in the logical data model as well. And then the software development lifecycle elements are defined according to software safety classification. For sure, this is as well applicable for the mechanical and the hardware part. And then review, verification, and validation activities are to be defined in a process, and the responsibility and authorities for design and development are determined. So it is not cutting-edge technology, it's just standard. But to make these things for your processes really major, we consider that the processes are really executed with minimal effort as a key. So when you design your processes or optimize your processes, just look that they're really getting executed, because sometimes the releasing authorities see that you have not been developed to norm, and that might be a knockout criteria for the later one. So I'm going to show you a very easy requirements process. Very, very basic. So you start somewhere, you create something, and then out of that creation, you can as well, or somebody, the creator can decide, oh, I made an error. He is going to cancel the issue. That's going to the reject level. It's received here, and that's it, and there is a stop. The other one is that he says, okay, let me define that one a bit more, or maybe somebody else will be doing that. That would put another swim lane here. Or he says, okay, I'm very fine, I'm very good in writing, I directly send that one to review. Out of review, we'll have the same situation that either the item is going to be rejected by review and maybe a full reject. It may be rejected due to rework, and what should be the standard is that it's getting through review, it's passing, and then it's going to the next development level, what is described here in that swim lane. And then this is a sub-process where the next development is starting to work on, and that will distribute to all the levels, and that's the end. So this would be a very, very basic, but as well very easy executable requirements process. And as you can see, CodeBeamer gives you the chance to define your workflow processes again as well. And this is an automatic drawing that we do if we create a workflow within of anything that is called tracker. Tracker is a CodeBeamer object that can be tracked or traced. Here you don't see the roles, but it's the same. It's a new directly to approval, or to draft, to approved, or to reject, or whatever you have there. So this is a very easy workflow. What you don't see here, that what you would need to do as well, is that later on that requirement might change, so it might go back to draft version. But that's another issue. So that's a very easy requirements process, as you can see here. And I'm going to show you as well a very easy change management process. So in some area, any requester will create a change request, and that's a very important part in regards to the development, because you have changes coming from customer, out of development, or wherever. You have an assigned staff who will refine maybe that requirement. Then he will put that to change control board, where a decision is made either to rework, either to accept, and then it's somewhat at the realizer level getting completed. It's sent to review and either put back to realize, or maybe even he finds out that even though it was accepted, it can't be realized and will go through that loop again. And at the end, it will be closed. So as well here, CodeBeamer shows you this kind of workflow as well an automatic drawing out of the thing itself, where you go into it standard change management process. So the processes are an essential part out of the norms. You have to follow them and you have to get the work products that are described. So now we come to the maybe a lot confusing view in the first shot, but if you go through it, you will find it very logical. So on the top level here, you see you need to have a data model that is reflecting all of your items that you have to produce during development. And the top level, you have a project plan, config management plans, safety, software development, test plans, and maybe a lot more, but that's something else. So now this requirements as you usually get them are here put. This is the requirements area. This is the testing area. So the V is not shown here. It's just on order to show how the logical view is in regards to database components. Top-down request customer requirements, internal system, then splitting up to hardware, software, hardware requirements here in hardware detail design, and then for sure software requirements, software architecture, software detail design. On the right hand, all the respective tests that you need to do to execute. And for sure you have to handle the soup area as well. So the software of unknown pedigree needs to be constantly checked by you in regards to anomalies as published by the supplier. And you need to evaluate them in regards to the effect of your software requirements. And as you can see here as well, there is another connection. It might as well lead to a failure mode. And for sure, you have to check that because your security and safety aspects of what you have might be affected out of that. And here you see the full area of the risk management that you need to handle. So I'm starting on the top where you have the standard risks out of a project, for example. You have a standard list of harms out of the norm, hazard types. You have analysis criteria that you need to use in the evaluation of risk. And for sure, financial would be one thing as well. Even though you develop a medical product, the financial aspect is not to be underestimated. And you will have a triggering event for those risks. So as you can see, there is a connection to the FMEA because the cause of an error may be as well a triggering event for a risk. So the FMEA part that's inside, what you need to have is that there is a failure mode that might be connected to any requirement. And if you want to extend even to tests, because tests can have failure modes as well, there will be a cause of error, and then for sure you have preventive and detection actions that will lead to a reduction of the risk priority number as you have to handle that. So this is the logical data model you will find in the tool, as I'm going to show you in a few seconds. Another thing, very important, where everybody is looking on in regards to the compliance you have to show. It is a derived picture out of a SPICE, but it's all the same, and here is only the software area mentioned. So top down from the stakeholder, you need to have your system requirements, architecture, software requirements, architecture, and detail design, and for sure they are all interconnected to each other. And then the thing is that here on the right hand is the right part of the V model, all the tests you have to execute. And then for sure the change requests. Any auditor will look into that area in regards to traceability, and that's what is handled in the logical data model as well that you've seen beforehand. This traceability is one part. The consistency check is something that you have to do in manual work in order to ensure that the test cases match the requirements, or that the architecture or the requirements match the upper level requirements as it is here. So I'm going to go a bit more into the 62304 and other norms in order to solve some confusions. We have been creating something for you in that template. So these questions you have here arise on a regular base when I go to a customer on a process or consulting. So there is a lot of questions. What is an architecture? What is a config management plan, a risk management safety plan, and so forth, especially on companies that are not so familiar with those processes. Getting up, or even if there is a new department handled, these are a lot of things that will happen. And what you can see is we have created predefined plans that you can use that are already consisting with items that will make it a lot easier for you to do. So you can use them and adapt them to your needs. So this kind of checklists or plans is something you should have anywhere in your company in order to work very easily. Now I go with you into a live demo, and I'll start with the view set that might arise for a demo user. You see here right now, I'm logged in as a demo user, Erica. You see here some trackers that are there, checklists, software development, customer requirements, whatever you have inside. So this is a restricted view, just only to show you that users will have a special view. And the administrator and the structure needs to have that all. And I'm right now going to guide you through what we have inside of that template. So it's a large template. It has a lot of descriptions. As you can see here, if I expand that node, you see a lot of description in regards to how to handle things, what you need to do. It covers areas out of the medical software, the risk management, and the FMEA 62812. If you want, you can handle agile methods inside as well. It's not a problem. And this template is kind of ready to go. It covers system, software, hardware, error, release management, FMEA, and risk management. So this is one thing that is inside. Now, what we have been doing for you is that we have a big mapping area where the requirements out of the ISO 62304 are pointed out, especially out of that area, starting with level 4. Here, general requirements, what you need to have. And if you go through, you will find that for all those general requirements that are getting here through, there will be a description on how you do that and where you do that. This is fully existing for that area, including workflow management areas automatically generated here. Architectural designs, you see we still have here, somebody did a review on that. I have here a question inside. So for all those things you have to do, there is a description how to handle and what to do. Similar is on the risk management level. Just switching over, you see here there is an area where are project risks predefined, the risk matrix diagram according to norm, including project risk. There is a risk configuration. How is that interconnected with what you have inside? And for all the risk area you have to do, you go through it. And then here, the next area is, for example, a detailed risk report or the risk file as that you have to produce according to norm. So all the data will get visualized for those people not really working in it, but want to see it here directly. What's the state? Where are we right now? And this is something that's already inside. Here you see again the logical data model. And with CodeBeamer 8.1, as you can see, I'm working on that one already. You can draw those items directly in CodeBeamer. It's nothing you need to do externally. And now we come to the important part. These are checklists. Because this is kind of industry standard to work, you have this kind of checklist. And as you can see in CodeBeamer, you can directly jump to the respective list. And I'm going to do that right now. As you can see, I was logged out. I have to go in here again. And then what you can see is always switching to German. Sorry, I have to switch that back to English. Here are checklists predefined for the IEC 62304. For the 14971, there's a gap analysis and a software acceptance test checklist. So all the checklists you might need to use in your area are inside here. You can go here and you can do a gap checklist, and there's a question. Okay, risk management process. So all the questions that you will be asked by the auditor and that make you be safe in regards to producing something that is really of value for those concerned, you have that inside here. What you have as well is, for example, that you have all those KPIs for the management and for whatever you need here out of the box with our dashboards inside. And you can see this is for the internal, this is for the software requirements with coverage wizards and whatever is needed. So going through the thing itself, you will see that here one of the most important part is the risk management. I'm going to show you how this is realized here. We have here medical device risk, and for sure there are some standard project risks. So if you look it up here, then you see on the right hand are the metadata in regards to that area. And what you can see here is, starting from the top down, the criteria you use, the hazard types coming out of a standard predefined hazard list according to norm, a more detailed description you have to put in regards to the hazard situation. And here you see triggering events, and what you can see here as well, as shown beforehand in the logical data model, is that these are directly connected to the respective FMEA causes or the triggering things. Here is a harm according to the harm list, and here's a more detail. You are going to decide the likelihood and the risk severity, and you can say here in the beginning, okay, is it acceptable, yes or no? So the mitigation options according to norm are as well inside, and you can decide what you do. You will say it's a single fault, essential performance, and do I need to notify the user, and what's the notification priority? Here in this planned risk reduction, you see as well that you either have to put in tasks or requirements that will lead to a reduction of the risk if happen. And what you see here as well is that at the end you do a likelihood after reduction severity and a benefit consideration. That is something you can do in process, because if you are to die 100% and the method will give you a 20% chance to survive, the benefit consideration in that case would be very high. And you put that in here, and then you're going to save, and then what's going to happen is that here, even though it's a very high risk, it's still acceptable. So the question would be as well, what's the risk source? And that should be typically a requirement. Who is going to work on that? If it's residual, acceptable after mitigation, and how do you evidence your compliance? Additionally, inside is a compliance to the 606118, and you have a description of the alarm condition, a failure result, and all those things that you put inside. What's interesting here is as well integrated is something that we have here is that we export those data to the readable format you are used to. And this is here a simple export into a predefined risk template, something that the persons in your regulatory affairs department will love. And then let me see, here it is opening right now. What you see right now is that all those things you had beforehand here are put into the system itself with respective coloring, if you want, that can be adapted. And all the things you are used in the typical single Excel sheet, because that's what people hand on, is put into including all the things that are in. So this is a predefined that can be adapted very easily. Going back, I'm going to show you as well in regards to the risk area. We're going to continue a bit in regards to the checklist. We had that one already. Now let's go to the software requirement specification. Just an example, you see here is a predefined what is where you have to look on. This is a typical software requirement specification, overall descriptions, functions. That's all in that template. How do you handle them all? What do you use as error messages? And what you can see here as well is the typical software classification that you have to do according to your decisions. And for sure, you can do that a bit more complicated than just assigning here. So if you have specific areas, we'll integrate that one. The other thing that is of major importance that I've shown before is the so-called traceability. And CodeBeamer has a big traceability browser where here you see there's a preset of internal requirements to system architecture to software system. And you will see that here is one item on the top level, internal requirements, related to system architecture and then related to the respective software requirement specification. And for sure, you will need that at any time. So you see here is the chance to load a managed preset or to change that very easily, because you right now can as well go ahead and take the tests for the internal requirements. And let's see what's going to happen here. You see what areas are there, how they are interconnected. You see there's just only one test for that. But this is standard what you have. And then let me see, no, that was the main error that I had to show you. What you have right now, and then I go back to, is you have the mapping of the IEC. So if you want to execute according to that norm, all the things, even going to risk management, directly possible. You can handle your tasks. You have seen how to handle those risk management areas. You have the software classification that you can see here. You have the software development plan with the predefined software development plan. If you want to do that, very easy, jump over it. We go into, this is the software development plan. According to some standards you can get, you can use that, and this is a standard software development plan that you can adapt to your needs. So going through, you see that software verification planning, all those items where you will run into what you need to do, system requirements, software requirements, process descriptions, it's all predefined here. If you want to have software unit verification process, there is the software development plan. The software checklist, acceptance criteria, you will have that. You can put them even into the tracker itself if you want to. That would be an adaptation, but that's possible. The checklists, software integrations, and all the things you have inside can be shown here directly. How is the workflow? What's the things inside? The software system, how do you do that? How you handle the things. So all the items, and you see it's quite a long description inside here, is risk management process. This is defined in 62304. So if you want to go and handle your risk areas, you do that here as well. Main topics, risk management area, how it is handled, what's inside of the norm, what's inside the process overview, what's inside here. Then here, the detailed risk report, you've seen that. The hazard list out of the structures that you're using right now. These are the applicable hazards that have been released and so are applicable in this project. You can see the risk management process. Oh, there is an update right now running on that. You have the FMEA inside, and FMEA is a major example you have to do. So the full FMEA form, as you need it, is inside here according to the standard of the description. It is fully applicable to those things you have to do. So you go through in any of your areas and create, for example, you see here is a customer requirement specification on the housing. And you see next action, what's the detail, what's the areas, what's the RPN, what's the future of it, and what are the actions here, are the actions as well listed. So all things you can see here, including status of what they are. And for sure, you can take that into graphs and show them in graphs. What's the RPN before and what's the RPNs? Whatever you want to see, you see various graphs you have there right now. So I hope that I could show you a bit how you can do that. And right now, I would like to have your questions in regards to that. So please go ahead and tell me what kind of questions you have. At the same time, I'm going to send you a question directly outside. Okay, so please go ahead and ask me some questions in regards to what we have here. You have to just put them inside. Very easy, and then I'll see your questions if you put them. I see here is no, the template itself. I get here the question. Is it possible to download the template? No, the template will only be delivered with consulting due to the fact that there are a lot of processes that you need to do. You need to adapt them to your in-house structures, and you need to get trained in that one because it's so huge that typically even the people here in-house have no chance to do that. So you have to check that with your respective salesperson, okay? I would like to go through the template before a meeting which we have planned. Okay, so then we should schedule a separate meeting for you, okay? So let me see. Thanks for the presentation. Thank you for listening. What else you have? So go ahead. I'm here to answer your questions. I have only one thing. You are here my guide in order to give you help. Anybody else who would be interested to ask a question in regards to either the norms, I will answer that one as well, or to the realizations. So go ahead. So as nobody right now seems to have some more areas, I will close that webinar here shortly. And if you have any questions, that webinar will be available on the website of Intland shortly. Otherwise, please go ahead and ask whatever questions you want to ask to the respective contact persons or to sales@codebimo.com or sales@intland.com. So checking again if there is an open issue on a question. Oh, could you explain further the safety lifetime management? Yes, for sure, I'm going to do that. So if you go into the area, I'm going to directly go inside here, the software development plan, and you have the software maintenance plan. So showing you what you have here is that you have to put up a management plan where you ensure that upcoming issues will not have an effect on that area. Especially, for example, easy example is the supplier of your software or maybe of your hardware will report you a soup item. So that might affect your areas. So you will have to have a software maintenance on the existing and new product that you might deliver, but as well existing systems might need to have an update. So if you go ahead and do this maintenance plan, that's a part of the norm you have to fulfill, you will check if there's an issue arising out of a soup item, out of a reported off-field area. You have to go through it, and throughout the full lifetime, all those change requests you might get, and here are, for example, some change requests, you would have to put them, you have to change that, you have to show them that there is any requirement connected with it, and it might be necessary to change. You might as well have a bug inside, and this is the one you have to show as well. So doing these things in the software maintenance is one of the life cycle actions you have to do during the life cycle, whatever that is planned in your house. Did I answer your question? Do you have a further question, Jerome? Okay, so any other questions, please feel free. I'll take another minute if you still have one. Otherwise, we're going to end that webinar. Okay, so apparently we have here a problem with the screen, but that's something that's happening. That's the technical issues everybody is known to. So what I'm going to do right now is that I'm going to stop that here right now.